Did you know that all the best athletes to play any sport, especially hockey, feel nervous before games? Did you know that sometimes they feel a little bit nervous, sometimes they feel super nervous, sometimes they feel like it's an intense kind of anxiety, sometimes they just are a little worried. But the thing to realize is you are not alone when you feel pressure. You're not alone when you feel nervous. You're not alone when you're worried if you don't perform well that something's going to go wrong. That's normal. That's a common thing that happens for people. And the thing to realize is that the difference between you and an elite performer is that when the big moment comes, an elite performer plays better. Now, maybe you're somebody who does perform in big moments, and I hope that I can help you to actually find more in yourself. Because when games become important, you want to always be the person who shows up more, because again, that's what great players actually are. They're the ones who, when the game is on the line, when the game is more important, they expand and find new levels, or they simply just don't crumble under the pressure that's created. And I want to help you understand that there is an illusion of pressure. Pressure is really an illusion. It's not something that really exists, but we create it in the mind and make it real through that. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel nervous after this conversation, but what I want to teach you is instead that nervousness and fear are things that come and go. They're like waves in the ocean, and they can be rolling along when underneath the surface, things are calm and steady. And I want you to be like the under the surface part of the ocean, where you're able to stay calm, steady, and present in the moment. And that's going to allow you to be able to perform. It's going to allow you to be able to show up and be dialed in like a Navy SEAL is able to stay present in these really important missions and secure whatever the job is. So that's what I want to help you with. So if you're ready, let's dig in. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is pressure. So in order to really understand what pressure is and when we refer to it, I want you to understand first that I'm referring to psychological pressure. So it's not like physical pressure when you push on something and you actually squish it. But pressure in terms of psychological pressure is basically, I really like this definition, is so psychological pressure is psychological stress associated with expectations to perform well in a situation. And I got this from a online glossary called Alley Dog. I thought it was just a really good way of summarizing it. And so what you want to realize is that we have set expectations, and now we've created pressure in our mind to fulfill on these expectations. Because you have actually established that out there, you need to do something. If something doesn't happen, then there is going to be a failure. You're scared to fail, and that's what creates the pressure. And the idea of failure comes from failing to maintain our identity. It's who we believe we are. So if, for example, you believe you're a great player, then you are going to fear anything that may challenge that. So if someone says something that makes you question it, it's going to cause a strong emotion of fear. If you make mistakes, you're going to feel fear because you're worried that you're going to not be as good as you think you are or are trying to maintain. You might be fearful of losing because if you lose, suddenly now you're not a winner. You may be fearful of looking bad because if you look bad, well, that you can't look bad and be good. That wouldn't make any sense, right? So the thing to realize is that you have to always look for the things that make you question if you're good, and notice how those are going to cause the fear. Those are kind of the places to find this. This then influences us to play worse whenever we do have these things come up. So for example, if you make a mistake and now you're fearful that you're going to make a mistake and you start to question if you're good enough, and then those things lead you to make more mistakes, and it compounds on itself, right? It's a downward spiral, and the downward spiral just kind of begins and will keep going. And that's a lot of times what happens when we get into a slump. Now, this is all in your head. This is the main thing I hope you learn from studying this work, is that it's all a mental game. Life and hockey are all a mental game. The mind constructs the body either consciously or the mind instructs the body either consciously or subconsciously. But the mind sends signals through the nervous system to the body to do things. The mind is trying to make sense of what is going on in a very complex world, and then it's trying to tell the body what to do. So here's the thing, it's all happening in your head. So this is the case with pressure. When we feel pressure, the idea of feeling pressure, the idea of having psychological pressure, psychological stress, is constructed in the mind. Now, odds are right now you're probably arguing that, no, Corson, I don't agree, because everyone unanimously agrees that Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals is a high-pressure situation. They all made that up. That's what I'm telling you, is they all made that up in their head too. Because we make up the meaning of everything in our heads as humans. We are meaning-making machines. We make stories about everything. We have these ideas that things mean something. But our minds are not actually able to comprehend a lot of times. It takes a lot of work to really understand that the meaning that you have created around hockey is oftentimes going to crush your performance. Because what you think actually matters in terms of hockey is that you have to win, you have to play well, you have to succeed. And if you don't, again, it challenges who you are, it breaks you down psychologically, and now you question if you are what you have built your identity to be. And now you have this fear, because if that happens again, you feel more fear because now you think it's going to happen and you're going to break down even more. So it creates this endless cycle of fear, then not sure, then fear, then not sure, and it kind of interacts with each other. So you have to understand, our minds are meaning-making machines. They make the game into something that is super, super important. And what you have to realize, man, is that it's not as big of a deal as it seems. We're going to dig into this for a second here. So here is the magic pill for dealing with pressure. And I gotta put this in terms of this is a secret that will truly change your life if you can fully embrace it right now. But I can only really help you understand this if you actually listen and take this in. Now, this is something that truly did make a massive difference for me in terms of my hockey career, but it made a huge difference just in my whole life when I really understood this. And you're gonna wanna disagree with me here. You're gonna wanna push back. You're gonna wanna say this is wrong, this doesn't make any sense, because it goes against everything your identity is built up. It's gonna go against everything that you've built up as a story about what matters in your life and what's important. And here it is. There is no meaning. So it sounds kind of crazy for me to say, but nothing matters more than anything else. Now, before you turn this off, I know you're thinking what the hell is this guy talking about? He's crazy. Of course there's meaning in life. Of course there's things that matter more than other things. Well, here's the thing. I'm not questioning that you think that. I'm not questioning that hockey matters more for you in your mind. But what I'm saying is that at a deeper level, in terms of the whole world and every other person, when we look at every other person and compare ourselves, what we have to understand is every single person has a different construct of what is more important. And everybody feels that it's true based on the way they see the world, the way they were raised, the way their friends, their family, their culture, whatever it is. So if you're a Canadian, for example, odds are that you look at hockey as something that's more important. If you're American, it might be more likely that it's football, basketball, those are kind of the main ones that you'll see way more people who see it as 100% football is way more important than anything else. Other countries, soccer is more important. It could be cricket in some countries. It is people adding their own values to the world. So the thing is when you go into a big game, we have a very, very hard time pulling ourselves out of our perspective. We're very locked into the current story we have. So if the story that you have about this game is that it is the most important thing, and if you fail, you failed as a person and you're not worth anything, well, that's true in your world. And no matter what I say, that is true if that's what you experience, because it's the story you built. If you can zoom out, if you can reframe the scenario and understand it from a bigger perspective and have a more open perception of this will change everything. And this is what I teach my clients every time they're dealing with pressure. This is the breakthrough that they really have, is when you can realize all you have to do is just switch up the way that you perceive the situation by reframing it and seeing it from a different scenario, and suddenly everything changes. So I'm going to teach you two different ones that are really valuable. The first one I'm going to teach you is the 10,000 year frame. This one is super, super valuable because when you look at things in terms of a time scale, you start to realize that things are not as important as we really think they are. We're very biased to the fact that what we're doing right now is the most important thing in the world, but we forget that in 10,000 years from now, people are not even going to remember what you did. So if you went and tried to make a move and someone poke checked you and they went down and scored, or you made a mistake and you embarrassed yourself in front of people, and that thing that you were creating all this pressure about, honestly, maybe even tomorrow, and even in that moment, 99.99% of the world doesn't even know it happened. But in addition to that, in 10,000 years, no one will even have a clue. Straight up, no one will even know what happened. So the thing that you feel like is life or death, that's the end of the world, the end of everything, this game that you're going into, in honestly even a couple hundred years, there's no chance anyone will even know what happened. And even if it's Game 7 Stanley Cup Final, do you know how many people who don't even pay attention to hockey? So that's the thing, is your perspective becomes this story that you feel like you're stuck in. But remember that you can always pull yourself out and see it from another view. So the 10,000 year filter is a really cool way to see the world, or a frame or filter or lens, however you want to term it. But when you pull yourself out, you see it from such a different angle. Now, the other piece to look at is, I like to call it, and this is kind of a funny one, so you may think this one's a little bit crazy, but I always like to do it because it reminds you of how kind of crazy it is to be a hockey player. And so I call this one the alien filter. So what I want you to do is, when you're coming into your next game, when you have whether it's a tryout, it's a huge pressure situation, and you feel that mental created pressure and stress coming in, what I want you to do is imagine zooming out for a second and basically imagine that you're in an alien spaceship kind of thing, and you've pulled yourself out and you're looking down on the game from, thousands of feet up, and you just kind of see that there's this thing going on down there. And imagine you don't know what sports are, you don't know what hockey is, and you're looking down at this game and everybody's going crazy. Everybody's so freaked out. There's fans wanting to fight each other. There's people just losing their minds. And then there's these people who are on the ice with these metal things on their feet, and then they're swinging these sticks and trying to get this rubber thing inside of a mesh net. And they're like, what is this, and why does anybody care about this? This is stupid. What's going on? Then you pull yourself back for a second and then say, oh yeah, no, it's because of this, and then pull yourself back, and you realize it's such a crazy thing to be so scared of something that from another angle doesn't even make any sense. You're just you're doing this weird thing. You're trying to put this rubber disc thing, and you're trying to avoid other people, and you're trying to not get hit. And there's all these elements coming in, and it's kind of funny. And when you can kind of smile and realize the craziness of it, it starts to bring back in that fun. It starts to bring back in the fact that you can change your reality. You can see things from a different perspective. And what you really want to realize is that pressure is not this heavy weighted blanket that you have to carry. Pressure is something you built. And so realize that if you put pressure on yourself, you can also take it off yourself. But you just have to reframe the situation. That's where it really starts. On a fundamental level, it's about changing the story and the relationship you have with the thing that you are about to do. And try those filters on. That's a really good place to start. And realize that you can also build your own version of the way you see the world. So when you come into a hockey game, a lot of people will think, well, oh no, I have to be nervous. I have to feel anxiety, because if I don't, it means I don't care and I'm not into it. But ask yourself, do I play better when I do that? Or when I'm relaxed and when I'm confident, is that when I find that my game becomes better? Well, that's the question. That's what you want to figure out, right? Because if you know that you perform better when you are confident, when you're relaxed, when you're present in the moment, then you want to build a new mental frame and then build a new rule set that brings you those things. So a really good place to start is to realize, okay, what are the rules I can set? And the way to think of this is, I have some of these kind of notes written down as well, is to think of it in terms of what are the inputs, what are the actions that I can control. A lot of people will call these the controllables, but what are the things that I can control in terms of inputs that will get me the outputs I want? So in terms of inputs, you can think, what is the thing that I can do to create more goals? Well, it can be create more shots. It can be get into more scoring chance opportunities or locations where you can get a pass. It might mean getting in front of the net and getting near the crease consistently. It may mean calling for the puck consistently. It may mean having conversations with your coach before each game and understanding how you can be better against this team. The input may be studying the other team's offense or defense and understanding the weaknesses in their game. That's the places to look. Those are things you can control that increase the likelihood and a lot of times virtually guarantee that if you do those things, you will get the outcomes you want. You can't always control how many goals you get, but you can control what you do to prepare, and you can control the actions you take in terms of, am I going to push myself really hard in this situation? Am I going to, every chance I get, make this decision? Then you want to use visualization and different techniques to program these deeper into your mind so you increase the likelihood that you do them instinctually, because the more things that you can do well instinctually, the less mental energy you have to expend to do those, and the more mental energy you can put into the game and be aware of what's going on around you. That's the beauty of this, is that understanding how these things all tie together basically offload mental energy or mental processing power so that you become more present. That's the benefit of being more skilled. That's the benefit of being more locked in terms of your confidence, understanding your IQ and your decision-making process, and knowing what you want to do instinctually and having them programmed in, is that these things happen automatically and effortlessly. You're not like trying to think your way through each thing. You're not trying to think your way through how to turn, how to make this move, how to take the shot, because you've practiced it so many times, you know how to do it at such a high level. Now you're starting to see how it all ties together. Now, another really good technique that you can use is the 2-1 breathing method. So the way that you want to think of this, and this is really effective in terms of they've shown it many times, there's tons of evidence that being able to basically breathe in for 1 second and exhale for 2 seconds. And you use that ratio for all of your breathing. So in terms of like breathe in for 1, out for 2, breathe in for 2, breathe out for 4, 4, 8. You don't really, oftentimes it's tough to go much beyond that. But when you can slow it down, what you're basically training your body to do is to go into basically a parasympathetic mode, but it's basically a calm response. That's what you're training your system to do. So if your goal is to get calm, you basically breathe in for 1 and breathe out for 2. And you're just trying to extend that and slow the breathing down. That will make you much more calm. So when you have these kind of like, your body is just freaking out, it's kind of like if you've ever had almost like an anxiety or panic attack type thing. When your body's having that freak out, what you're trying to do is like mentally you may know that it's not the end of the world, but your body may still be reacting strongly. So when you feel that, what you want to do is send a signal to your body that we can relax. And that's what that technique will do, because the exhale going really slow calms the body down. You also want to make sure you focus on breathing through the belly. That will actually make sure that you breathe very calmly through. So, and repeat that a couple times. You'll notice that when you breathe very slowly and do the 1-2 method, it is crazy how calm you can get. And it's really good to use even if you want to fall asleep, if you're trying to just get into a meditative state, or if you're just trying to deal with anxiety or nervousness, during a game, even after a game, to calm down, get yourself into that parasympathetic mode to recover faster. It's a really, really powerful technique. Now, one last technique that I want to teach you, just so you have another kind of tool in the tool set. This is the benefit of joining me in the war room for these conversations, is you can actually understand you can understand how to calm your system down even more by not just doing the 1-2 method with your breathing, but also doing a double inhale. So this is something I learned from Dr. Andrew Huberman. I found this a really cool technique that he does. He also took it from someone else. I can't remember who that was. You can look it up if you want to figure that out. But it's basically a double inhale. And so what you do is you breathe all the way in. So you breathe in and fill your lungs all the way. And then you get to the very end and you inhale a little bit more. And so that pause basically causes, it's really hard to explain. I don't even fully understand it, but there's basically things in your lungs that like open and close. And so the opening, closing, and then opening again causes this very weird kind of calming and de-stressing response. So very cool technique to use. It calms your system down really quickly, and it will allow you to deal with that stress that comes with the pressure you've put on yourself. But if you focus on calming your stress response first, or no, not that. If you focus on calming your system down by actually reframing the way that you're looking at things, that's fundamentally going to help you to deal with all these other things. So you reframe the way you look at it. You understand that there is nothing that means more than anything. You're creating this story and making this meaning. You're making yourself feel this pressure. And what is empowering about that is that you know that you can change it. When you realize the responsibility is yours, now you can change. But if it's other people doing it, if it really is, then that's you allowing the other people to have power. So you always want to say, no, like the other team, they don't have control of this game. I am going to figure out how to take control and help us win. It's putting the responsibility on yourself, because if every person does that on your team, you have a better team. So if you're a coach, think about this. Teaching these techniques to each individual player and making sure everybody is their best version all the time increases the chances of playing their best, therefore the team playing their best. So that's the key. So you reframe the whole mental framework, and you change the filters that you have and the lenses that you see the game with, so that you don't even have that core feeling of there really is pressure. You realize this is just pressure you've put on yourself, which is okay, and you can get through this. And then the next piece is then understanding, put the inputs that you can control in, so that you know what are the things I can control, and you direct your focus there, and you can be present to those. You trust your instincts, you trust your preparation, you allow your skills to come out, and then you can use these two kind of calming techniques to stay present and to stay calm. Use the 1-2 breathing method, so breathing in for 1, exhaling for 2, and extending those breaths and calming it down as much as you can. Obviously, you'll find a ratio that works, but usually 4 seconds inhale, 8 seconds exhale typically is something that people find to be really effective. And then using the double inhale technique to add on to that. So you breathe in, right? And then exhaling very slow. You will feel a total difference. And if you just try it during this podcast or this masterclass, really whatever you're listening to this on, if you're watching this as an identity letter on my website, just take a second, even pause this if you have the time to do it, and just calm yourself and just use this breathing. If you're doing a workout right now, try breathing in for that 1, exhaling for 2, and slowing it down. And just notice how your body just settles. The tension in your whole system starts to let go and release. And when you do that, you unlock a new ability. You unlock the potential, and that will make you a better player. So I truly hope this stuff helps. And make sure that if you have questions about this, feel free to go on my website. You can always contact me there. You can contact me on Instagram. It's all at Identity Shift Hockey, or Identity Shift Corson. You can always find me there. If you have anything you need help with, just let me know. If you're looking to basically take your game to the next level, if you're a U15 AAA player who wants to take your game more seriously, whether you're looking for one-on-one IQ training and watching your game film every single week, you can also be like submitting clips to me online, and I'll be like breaking them down throughout the week for you, game and practice clips. I work with like a select set of few AAA players, but mostly junior, college, and pro guys for this. And then if you're looking for more help in terms of your mental side of the game, we also have the Identity, or the Next Level Academy, as part of the Identity Shift, different programs we have. So if you're interested in joining the Academy, it's a group program where we help a group of players. You have access to all the courses I've ever built. You have access to the training hub that is a Notion document that allows you to track all your performance metrics. keep track of your daily reflections, do weekly reflections, keep track of what you do each month and what's working and what's not, allow you to submit clips. It is really, really cool. You also get access to a community of a whole bunch of players. We're at over 30 players now who are all committed guys, all communicating, doing daily accountability posts. It's just a really fun place to be. So if you're a serious player, you follow all the identity shift stuff, and you know that you want to take things further, you want to push yourself, and you know you're committed to getting to the next level, whether it's moving up the lineup on your team, whether it's trying to develop and get to the next league, whether it's trying to play in the NHL, play college, just play pro anywhere. Our job is to really help you do the development side of it. Make sure your mental game is developed the way you need it to be. Make sure you approach your skills development training in the way that's going to make you the best player. Help you work on your physical training and make sure all that stuff works. Help you understand how to actually approach hiring an agent, how to approach actually talking to teams. Understand how to do all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, you can always hire specialists to take over for you. But it's really good to understand what to look for and know so you don't run into the pitfalls that so many players run into. I know what it's like. I've been through it, played over 20 years of hockey, and I want other players to understand that there are so many things that they can be improving on that I started to understand as my hockey career went along, but I would love to just take it all and then the other many years of just like deepening the understanding and just give it to my younger self. So if that's you, or if honestly, if you're already in pro, you've already established yourself, and you're just looking to dial in little details, you want to watch film together and understand what the pieces are. I've studied basically thousands of hours of hockey and played a ton, obviously, too. And my mind, I'm pretty good at understanding these things, but really what I do is try to look at the best players and understand what works and what doesn't and apply it to your game and see how we can just tweak your game to the next level as we play and establish how we want to prioritize things based on your current role, based on your current identity and how you see yourself as a player. So if you're interested in any of that, just contact me on Instagram. That's the best place to find me, or on my website, CourseandSorrels.com. Hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you are crushing it.